Boxing Truth here, back with another video. Make sure to smash that like button, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Alright, Jaron Ennis is now a hype job, according to these fickle fans, man. Yo, boxing has the worst fan base in sports. I mean, it's up there. It's definitely up there when it comes to the worst fan base. I mean, the saying of "you're only good as your last fight" couldn't be any more truer in this sense. As people have jumped off the hype train, they have jumped ship. They have abandoned Jaron Ennis as the second coming in the welterweight division, simply because he went the distance with a solid guy in Karen Chukaskinen, whatever his last name is. It was actually a solid test, a worthy opponent to fight for an interim title. It was actually the best opponent to date for Jaron Ennis. And the intriguing thing about this fight prior to the fight was the over under. I mean, the bookies had him, they had the over under at 3.5 rounds. All I had to do was watch 5 minutes of Karen, and I immediately realized this guy has some science behind him. He's got some defensive skills. He's scientific. He's got footwork, and he's a defensive fighter. So I was like, man, that over looks really nice. Took it, and gotta thank Karen for coming through for me on that bet. But it was an easy bet, man. I didn't think it. I wasn't sure if it would go to distance, but I was definitely confident it would go over 3.5, and it did. Now, I think the criticism, a lot of it relies on the how boring the fight was. I ain't gonna lie, I got bored around the eighth round of this fight. It was just the same shit, Ennis couldn't really do much in terms of creating excitement offensively. Would land shots here and there, but he was missing a lot. He was having trouble with Karen's movement, rhythm, but Karen just wasn't doing enough offensively. I mean, I was actually impressed with Karen's footwork, his defensive skills. He was even laying traps here and there, but it was just too few and far between. And he wasn't able to get. I only felt he won 2 rounds in the fight. And it was a nice little tactic he did at the end of the fight where he tried to test if Ennis was tired, see if he was, gassed. He was actually stepping to him in the last round, stayed in the pocket, and tried to do a drowning tactic. That was his game plan. Limit the damage, overcome the firepower, overcome the storm early, and see if Ennis gasses because he's never been past 6 rounds. It was a solid plan, but he should have did more offensively, but he couldn't. And that was because of Ennis. Ennis is just too long. He's too powerful for Cameron to really to sustain any consistent offense. I mean, Cameron had to watch out for the body shots and the power punches, and he had to be defensive in order to go the distance. So it was a moral victory. That's all it was for Karen. But he did show some solid skills in there, defensively, and in terms of footwork. But is Ennis a hype job? No. He dominated the fight. He won the fight clearly. He beat a solid opponent. It wasn't the best performance in terms of excitement, but it's hard to knock guys out who are moving a lot and don't really engage all that much. Very hard to do. But see these fans exposed. Uh, eye test, no resume. This guy would never beat Earl or Terrence. I mean, would Spence knock out Karen? I doubt it. Even Crawford would have trouble beating a guy knocking out a guy that's moving that much. So, I mean, he won the fight clearly. It's really it's a matter of styles. I mean, how many guys move like Karen, anyways, in the welterweight division? Not much. It wasn't the best stylistic fight in terms of entertainment, but it was a good test for Boots to see where he's at in terms of his conditioning. Could he go 12 rounds easy? It looked like he did. He looked in pretty good shape after 12 rounds. My only concern in a potential Spence fight was if Ennis can't get Spence out of there within the first 6, will he gas? Now I know he's in pretty good damn shape, so that's not going to happen. It's not going to come down to conditioning in a potential Spence fight, if it ever does happen, which I doubt it does. I don't think Spence fights Jaron Ennis. It's not going to happen. But if it does, it won't come down to conditioning. It will come down to ability, skill, and who wants it more. And the Spence fight is perfect for Ennis. Get in there with a durable guy. He'll be tested in terms of conditioning. And also, Spence does have good power. Doesn't have one punch power, but he has good power. I think it's a fight that Ennis could definitely win. I would pick him to win that fight. But too bad it's never going to happen. Spence has other plans, and it doesn't involve Jaron Ennis. But based on this performance, how many guys would you pick to beat Jaron Ennis? Even though it wasn't his most exciting fight, he went 12 rounds with a guy nobody ever heard of, but the guy was pretty good, man. The guy was solid. He didn't have no power, but he was very scientific and he had good footwork. Not a lot of guys possess that type of movement in this welterweight division. If you look at the top 15 guys, Villa don't move like that. He got no movement. Batua don't move like that. Stanionis stands right in front of you, aggressive fighter. Thurman has good movement, but he's a part-time fighter nowadays. So what does his legs have left nowadays? Ortiz don't move like that. I don't think Ortiz would have stopped that guy either. I think he would have went 12 with Karen as well. Karen dude was tough. There's only one welterweight I would confidently pick to beat Jaron Ennis, and that's the man, Terrence Crawford. Because the counterpunching style of Crawford is terrible for Ennis. He's an aggressive fighter, and he gets hit clean. Bad style for this type of matchup. This guy comes forward behind the jab. This is a better fight for Ennis. The only question is, will he gas in this fight? I don't think so after watching him go 12 against Karen, but Spence is a way more physical fighter. He'll take more chances, and he'll go to the body. But he also will create more opportunities for Ennis to exploit offensively, which Karen did not do. Karen just wasn't willing to go in there enough and bite down that mouthpiece. I picked Ennis to beat Thurman rather convincingly. Probably knocks him out. I pick Ennis to beat Stanionis. Stanionis doesn't have the style to beat him. If Conor Benn's not on the juice, I think Ennis beats him. He's juiced to the gills though, so you gotta watch out. You gotta enforce VADA testing if you're gonna fight this guy. But Tua will be a great test. So I don't think Ennis is a hype job. It wasn't a great fight. It wasn't an exciting fight, but he got some nice needed experience, nice rounds, and he was able to see 12 for the first time. So that's all good things. That's only going to make him a better fighter from here on out. And looking at this list, there's only one fighter I would pick confidently to beat him. Ugas ain't gonna beat him. None of these. Only Crawford I would pick to beat him confidently. And he's 35 years old, going on 36 this year. So, time is on Ennis' side. There's a lot of politics involved. So, if I'm him, I get back in the ring in June. Spence is not gonna fight him, so most likely he gets elevated to full titleist. He'll be a crowned vacant champion. That's gonna be his future. And try to get a big fight with anybody. Could be Villa. Could be Batuev. Maybe Stanionis will be back in the mix because I don't feel that virtual fight's gonna happen. Crowley is a solid opponent. Even Ugas coming off a bad loss to Spence. So still believe in Jaron Ennis. Still believe in the stock. Still think he'll accomplish things in his future. But time's on his side, and with the politics involved, he shouldn't be waiting around to figure out if Spence is going to fight him enough. Just get back in the ring against the best available opponent. Be active, not fight once a year, and stop your progression. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.